Welcome to The Bid, where we break down what's happening in the markets and explore the forces changing the economy and finance. I'm Oscar Polito. Earlier this year, Larry Fink, BlackRock's chairman and CEO, talked about the retirement crisis and the difficulty that individuals face when planning for their financial future. Saving for retirement can be challenging due to various factors such as rising living costs, longer life expectancies, and the decline of traditional pension plans. In this episode, I welcome Lacy Garcia, CEO and founder of Willow, a wealth technology firm, and Katie Cullen, head of business consulting at BlackRock. Lacy leads her firm with a powerful mission to help next-generation investors, most notably women and underrepresented groups, to achieve financial security. We'll be discussing her motivations for starting Willow, the challenges she faced along the way, and her advice for budding entrepreneurs. Katie will help us understand the current retirement landscape, how that pertains to diverse communities, and some practical considerations for anyone looking to plan their own financial future. Lacy, Katie, welcome to The Bid.
Thank you so much for having us, Oscar.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Lacy, I'd love to start with you. You are the CEO and founder of Willow, a wealth technology firm, and I'm sure you'll tell us a little bit more about what that means. I'm always interested when we have an entrepreneur and somebody who started their own business. What is it that drove you to start this firm? What is that passion that is what created Willow?
Yes, so it was both my professional and my personal experience. So in my mid-30s, I found myself at a pivotal moment where unexpectedly I had become not just a breadwinner, but the sole provider and was facing a divorce. And I really had to take control of my finances amidst a challenging period in a way that I hadn't previously. And at the time, I was somebody who was actually in financial services and was serving as an advisor. So you'd think that I had all the answers and that it would have been really easy for me to find the right, trusted advisor. But I didn't have all the answers, and it wasn't easy for me. I was really struck with how difficult it was to find an advisor. The people that I was speaking with, I felt like they didn't understand me. They were taking a very impersonal, transactional approach. And, I really needed somebody that I felt like I could connect with on a personal level, that I could let down my guard, that I could be honest about some of the challenges. I felt in many ways like an imposter, right? I should have all these answers. I didn't. But who really could understand, me from a personal as well as a life journey and life event and transition perspective. I found myself really understanding what it was firsthand to be those data points that we'd read about, we'd heard about. I am a woman. I am thrilled to be here during Hispanic Heritage Month as I'm a Cuban American. And I, was on the younger kind of sort of side of things. So I really felt that completely dissatisfied, disconnected, and that I wasn't getting what I needed. And I realized, I was definitely not alone. There was this huge opportunity, right? I had felt that frustration firsthand of not being able to find the right advisor and get the advice that I needed. At the same time, we look at the data and the demographic changes. The majority, the face of wealth is changing in many ways, and more women, more and more underrepresented investors and younger investors really are going to be the clients moving forward. And there's this massive opportunity. And so, what sort of drives me is, true to my Latin roots, for me, money really is the ability to provide and to care for my family and to provide opportunities for my son. So that is what sort of drives me on a personal level. And the fact it's such an emotional, money is emotional, and there needs to be that personal connection and trusted financial professionals who are able to connect with you and provide you with that support along, who are able to really give you the empathy, the education, the empowerment that you need to be able to take control. So that's what we're doing with Willow, with trustwillow.com. We're training advisors and vetting them and making sure that they are uniquely qualified to serve women, to serve next gen, to serve underrepresented investors, to be a coach, to provide that education and that empowerment. And also, in light of it being a Hispanic heritage, I'm the daughter of a Cuban refugee. I was taught to sort of understand and to talk about finances and talk about struggles. My father was very, very open and honest about all the hard work that it took to make money and how hard it was to to actually grow it, or to keep it, to protect it, because he had lost everything overnight. And also really core to that was that you be able to trust those financial professionals that you are entrusting to help you to not only to grow, but to protect your wealth. So that's also core to what we're doing at Willow, making sure that people are able to connect with those trusted financial professionals so that they can, take control of their finances.
And Lacy, you said money is emotional. Your story is one that has a lot of emotion as well. You talked about your personal situation in your mid-30s. You talked about your family and the upbringing and how that influences some of your thinking. And it's sort of a good reminder that individuals, when they're working with an advisor, it's not just math and statistics. There really needs to be sort of a strong interpersonal relationship. And it sounds like that's what Willow is trying to address. Can we talk a little bit more about like starting a small business? That's no easy task. You said you have a son, so you're wearing multiple hats in your life. What were some of the challenges you faced in starting your company, and how did you overcome them?
In the early days, we were a little bit early, right? People understood that there was this problem out there, right? But everybody knew that women and these groups, next gen, were underserved. But it wasn't really seen as a business imperative, I think, in the early days. So there is that kind of struggle in the beginning of, the problem, you've got the solution, but getting the clients and getting those investors, to really jump on board. And I think we were very fortunate to be able to connect with amazing clients and investors such as BlackRock, who really were forward thinking and looking at this paradigm shift that was happening in the wealth management industry, and the fact that these historically underrepresented investors were going to represent the majority of wealth clients moving forward, and that it was really time to help advisors to have a tactical solution on how to support them and to make sure that, obviously the mission alignment about making sure that we're getting financial empowerment to more and more people. But I'd say sort of I think this is real for so many working parents, right? The struggle is real. The traditionally known as mom guilt, but I know that, men feel this, dads feel this the same, is that you just can't be everywhere at the same time, right? You're juggling multiple hats. It's impossible, to get everything done on the to-do list and all the things that you wish. So it's really critical to just be, first of all, give yourself grace, right? And then also be really open and really transparent with everyone around you about like, okay, these are the 3 things that I need to make sure that I get done today. And I'm sorry that I won't. With my son, I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to be there, but I'm there because look at what I'm doing. And this is what's enabling you to be able to do that, right? And having those open and those honest conversations. And then similarly, giving yourself grace along that journey, because we all feel like we focus on the things that we didn't get to versus, giving ourselves the pat on the back about all the things that we have accomplished.
And Katie, perhaps to bring you into the conversation, I mean, Lacy's talked about the business opportunity, which is that next generation of investors, and the face of wealth is changing, as Lacy said. Does that resonate with what you're seeing in the industry?
Absolutely. The truth of the matter is, Lacy's story isn't unique just to her. We see more and more with women, next gen, underrepresented groups, that the access to financial literacy, the access to information, and the lack of it in most cases really does provide an opportunity for people to not reach their goals, to not be able to accomplish all that they're capable of accomplishing. Women, for example, do not feel like they have enough information to invest. They don't feel like they can make the right decisions when it comes to budgeting, debt management, some of the things that we might take for granted. And that number isn't really changing unless we get in front of those groups, give them the information, the access, the information to be able to take a look at their debt management, take a look at what are their goals, what is it they most want to accomplish, and then help them, give them the resources in order to accomplish that. Lacy said it so well. She is in this industry, and she herself didn't know where to go and couldn't find access to information in a number of key areas that we might take for granted. So it is very common. Also, interestingly, in today's day and age, we're seeing entrepreneurs like Lacy only increasing in the female demographic. We're seeing almost in the U.S., 40% of all businesses are run by women. And so this access to information, this access to helping investors be able to identify what their goals are, find the resources in order to be able to really meet those goals, and then be able to enjoy that when the time comes. I think there's so much that we can do to continue to serve these underrepresented groups. What I think is really important is that we share with everyone, if you're feeling this way right now, if you're feeling like I don't know where to turn, I don't know what resources are available, the truth of the matter is you're not alone. Our own research shows that 59% of women do not feel like they are prepared for retirement. 59%. So if you're feeling that way, whether you're a man or a woman or what group you're in, you're not alone. And with the right planning, with the right resources, with the right communication with those around you, you really are set up to succeed. It's just taking that first step that's most important.
And as you share some of those statistics, we had Larry Fink actually right at this table a few months ago talking about the retirement crisis that he sees. So, what he's outlined and the challenges that we face ahead. How do you think about that? And how should people be positioning themselves for success in the future if, in fact, some of the stats that you're referencing are true?
It really is a crisis. And I'd say there's a couple of things that you can think about. One is reframe the way you think about retirement. Make sure that you're clear on what your goals are. Make sure that you know and you share that with your family, that you're really clear on what is that you want to accomplish and what you need in order to get there. There's 5 steps that you can take, and they're very accessible to everyone, regardless of where you are in your investing journey. The first one might seem incredibly simple, but we see it time and time again. People do not take the time to really get organized around their finances. Make sure that they know where their assets are, that they know what their assets are, they know what their budget is. Things that we might think are very intuitive. A lot of people, regardless of your level of education, your level of access to resources, often haven't taken that very first step of being organized when it comes to your assets. The other part of that, though, is don't just keep that information to yourself. Share it with your family. Make sure your partner knows where to find that. It is your job to make sure they know where to find that information and what to do with it if you are the person in the family that is responsible for that information. If you're not the person in the family that's responsible for that information, then it's your job to figure out where all that is. You have to stay organized. It's the number one step. The second one is establish your goals. We talk about this all the time. But a lot of people have it in their mind. They haven't broken their goals down, their financial goals, their life goals down into different segments. Have your short-term goals, 1 to 3 years. Have your midterm goals, 3 to 5 years. And then those 5 years plus. Write them down. And as important as writing them down, share them with someone. It's that whole idea of the more that you put it out there, the more that you're going to be accountable to those around you. We find it really does allow those goals to stick. The third thing that I'll mention is know your numbers. Know what your budget is. Know what your assets are. Know what you need in order to retire. Make sure that you're really clear on what your numbers are and keep fresh on that information. Make sure it's something you review from time to time. You don't just look at it every now and then. You're doing it on a very periodic basis. We also want people to get invested. There is no such time as the perfect time for pretty much anything in life, let alone investing. Get started now. Even small dollar amounts can really, really add up to incredible assets over time. Make sure that you have some information in order to align your risk with your goals, because what works for someone else when it comes to investing isn't going to necessarily work for you. There's a lot of incredible tools out there to help people get started with that now. And I'd say the most important thing, your journey is your own. What works for someone else isn't going to work for you. Make sure you take time to really think about, what does education savings looks like for me and my family? What do I expect my retirement to look like? How do I think about longevity? How do I think about philanthropy or other things like that? And make sure your goals are aligned with the decisions you make, the way you invest. And also, it's really important to mention, a lot of people think of money managers as nothing more than that. And while that is an incredible part of what they do, financial professionals are also people who can help you stay aligned on your goals. They can help you adjust if changes to life happen. They can help you communicate your goals, your dreams, your fears, your vision for your legacy with your family members. Enjoy the opportunity to bring a financial professional into your life and make sure that that person is there not only in the good times but also in the hard times. With that type of a resource at your fingertips, you really are poised to some incredible success.
And on that last point, you said financial advisors sometimes are described as money managers, but that sort of leaves sort of an incomplete definition, is what you're saying, because maybe a good financial advisor, yeah, does give investment advice, but also serves as a bit of a financial coach. And I think that's what Willow is trying to do, is to put those advisors in a position where they know how to coach that next generation of investors. I don't know, Lacey.
Very much so. 2/3 of women and millennial and Gen Z investors are really looking for their advisor to act as a coach, to provide them with some form of coaching that's going to help them be an accountability partner, not procrastinate, not make rash decisions. And it's funny. I'm struck all the time. I hear from people, "Oh, yes, I need to get an advisor," or "Yes, I need to do that, but I just need to get my act together first," or "I need to get through this period, or I need to get through that." And I'm like, no, the time to reach out is now. Oscar, if you weren't feeling well, would you wait until you were feeling better to go to the doctor? No. But it's like, they are actually being trained and care, and the advisors we're working with Willow, to be able to help you. If you can't find the time, they're going to help you figure out how to find the time to sit down. And if all this seems daunting and overwhelming, they're going to help turn it into bite-sized pieces so that you can sit down, write down those goals, figure out where these numbers are. And if you feel overwhelmed, as Katie said, you are not alone. The majority of Americans, no matter how affluent they are, I think 2/3 of affluent Americans don't feel like they're as on top of it as they should be, and struggling to know kind of what things cost and to do the things that they need to do. So you're definitely not alone, but definitely bring in a professional, right? Because they can help you to get to that place where you're able to make the time, you're able to take control.
And your analogy of the doctor is spot on. If you feel sick, you should call a doctor. But people can be pretty stubborn. I might be in that camp too, where even when you don't feel well, it's not the first thing that comes to mind. And perhaps that applies in people's financial lives as well.
Very much so. But you're typically, you benefit by calling that doctor.
Exactly. Lacy, sticking with Willow and just the story of the company that you started, you're an entrepreneur and you've started a mission-driven company.
Mhm.
Katie's alluded to the growth in women-owned businesses. What is some of the advice you would give to some of those people who are out there looking to start their own company?
Well, it is so wonderful to start and run a mission-driven company because you are passionate, right? And I think finding passion in whatever you're doing on the entrepreneurial side really helps to continue that drive that you need on a daily basis to keep running, at full speed ahead, which is the entrepreneurship kind of journey. So I think some of the key pieces of advice, though, I'd give to people very much is that when you're starting something, focus on providing a solution to a problem, but really focus on the problem versus just your solution. Because typically we hear about overnight successes, which we know is less than 10% of all new businesses that are started. But most companies, they may start with a good solution, but they have to listen to feedback. They have to look at the data. They have to sort of pivot the business model. So if you're focused on solving a problem versus just your one specific solution, that really definitely helps a lot. I think also the team, making sure that you're surrounding yourself. It takes a village. We hear that all the time. It really does take a village. And it's not, if you're starting a company, that means that it's something that goes well beyond you. And there's lots of people involved and they really need to buy in and embody and take what you've started and make it theirs as well in order for it to scale, in order for it to grow, and similarly, I think as a founder, as a CEO, or in the C-suite, having those mentors, having those sponsors, having those advisors, making sure you're surrounding yourselves with people who've done it before, who've been there, that you can ask the questions, that you can get that that insight and advice from that strategic advisory board. And then there are two other things I'd say is obviously listen to the data, listen to the feedback. You're only as good as how the market or your customers or your clients interpret what it is you're doing, right? That's what creates a successful company, is that ability to provide that valuable service and to grow those relationships. And finally, you can never take no for an answer. You can never give up. You just have to get up every morning and try again, right? It's full of rejection. It's full of no's. But, you every day, you just have to keep going. And you only need one yes, right? Sometimes you only need one yes. It might have taken 99 no's to get to that one yes, but you got the yes.
That's great. And the passion is coming across very clearly as you describe what you've been doing at Willow. Katie, maybe one last question, which is, what would you say to the investors that are out there that are concerned about their retirement, don't think they're prepared, where should they start?
Start now is the most important thing. The other thing is start even with small sums of money. The idea of compounding over time, as Einstein said, the eighth wonder of the world, is real. The difference between investing for 5 years versus 10 years with a 10% growth isn't just 100% return. It's actually 260%. This is real money. You might think when you're early on in your career you don't have enough and it doesn't matter. $50, $100, $20, whatever it is, investing it sooner rather than later is one of the most important things that you can do. And if you don't know what that means or what that looks like, ask questions. There are so many incredible resources out there that can help you figure out, well, what should I do based on my risk, based on my goals? But the important thing is start now. And I'll leave you with as well, you're not alone if you don't know where to begin. A lot of professionals, a lot of investors that I talk to, they feel almost embarrassed. They might be a professional and they might not know as much as they think they need to know based on where they are in their life, and that's okay. We all have our areas of expertise. We all have things that we're really good at. And the truth of the matter is people want to be asked their opinion. They want to be asked for guidance. So ask, don't be afraid, and continue to learn.
Start now. It's never too late to get started on your retirement. Lacy, you mentioned it only takes one yes. So thank you for saying yes when we asked you to come on with Katie. These are important topics. We appreciate you sharing it with us on The Bid. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Bid. If you enjoyed this conversation, check out How to Build Wealth with the founders of Earn Your Leisure, where they share their journey of transforming financial education through their multimedia business platform, making it entertaining and relatable to all.